Premium quality football shirts at an extremely affordable price. Sound good? If so, check out the sponsor of today's video, jerseyfifa.com. You can see that I've sent you some shirts and they really are top quality, so make sure to click the link in the description to go find a shirt for yourself or perhaps as a gift for someone else. And you can now use code jerseyfifa at checkout for 10% off your order. That's code jerseyfifa at checkout for 10% off your order. I really do recommend their product, so go take a look. Now let's get into the analysis. So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different to what we've been doing lately, and rather looking at transfer news and things like that, I want to take a look at a few of the Manchester United players and compare them with each other to see who should be starting. Now the position that I want to focus on is at centre back. Manchester United have of course just secured the signature of Lisandro Martinez, so today I want to look at some of the other United centre backs to see who should play alongside him. For the purpose of this video, with United spending so much on Lisandro, we're going to be assuming that Lisandro Martinez will be starting as Manchester United's left centre back next season. So now it's time to look at some potential partners. So before we get started, there are a few different players that we could look at. However, I think it's fair to assume that Bailly, Tuanzebe and Phil Jones could all be leaving the club. So today I want to look at Maguire, Lindelof and Rafa Varane. So now we know the potential partners for Martinez, it's time to look at some of the attributes that his partner would need. And based on his success alongside Yuri and Timber with Ajax, I think it's quite clear that Martinez needs a partner with pace. On top of this, Martinez also needs a partner who is good in the air. To be fair, Martinez is much better in the air than what people think. However, I still think that playing in the Premier League, he probably needs a dominant defender alongside him. Something else that is required is a player that is good on the ball. Now Martinez isn't necessarily desperate to play alongside a ball player. However, we already know that Ten Hag wants his side to dominate the ball, so it would still be needed that they're good on possession. Now in order for this to work, United would ideally use a progressive centre back, rather than just a safe passer. However, this isn't too much of a major issue, because we know that Lisandro Martinez will bring this in an abundance. So ideally, they are some of the attributes that Lisandro Martinez's partner will need to really form the most complete centre back pairing. But now it's time to look at Varane, Maguire and Lindelof to see who fits in the best as his partner. So for all of these attributes, we're going to look at their stats from last season, and we'll start off with tackles, where we can see that Varane ranks the best out of the United defenders with almost double the amount of tackles per 90 compared to Lindelof. With that in mind, Varane is obviously ticking that box of perhaps being the best defender from a tackling point of view, or at least he was last season, and whilst it weren't his best year, he was still able to do better than most of his opponents. The next thing I want to look at is aerial duels, and I'll be honest, this one surprised me a little bit. I expected to see Maguire topping this metric, however it was once again Varane that came out on top, narrowly bettering Harry Maguire. This heading ability probably isn't something that we really associate with Varane. However, standing at 6'2" and having a good leap means that he is often able to jump above his opponent to win the header, so again he ticks that box in the air. So the next stat is interceptions, and this is perhaps an indicator of the individual play styles, and this one is actually really close. However, as we can see, Maguire narrowly completed more interceptions per 90 than both Lindelof and Varane. Last year Maguire was obviously heavily criticised for his performances, however statistically he was still United's best defender in terms of interceptions, and this is perhaps an indicator that he looks to play on the front foot a little more. Next up is clearances, and again we can see that Varane ranked as the best defender last season, although again it was pretty close, with Varane averaging 0.2 more per 90 minutes, but yet again Varane was edging it for United last season. Now whilst Varane's ability to clear the ball was impressive last year, I think it's a number that Ten Hag will want to bring down, because obviously he won't want his team to be defending on the back foot as much as what they were last season. A number that Ten Hag won't want to bring down is the pass accuracy, where yet again Varane was the best last season, with Maguire actually bottom. However, it's important to remember that players are attempting different difficulty of passes. Whilst Varane did finish with the highest pass accuracy last season, I think it would be wrong to say he is the best passer, because at times he does play things a little bit safe. However, again it is still important to make sure that he keeps possession. The more interesting attribute is progressive passing, where we can now see that Varane is ranking at the bottom, with Maguire now moving to the top, highlighting that Harry Maguire is by far the most progressive of the three centre-back options. This is an area of the game where Maguire has always excelled, and I think it's something that will really interest Erik ten Hag, because yet again we know that he loves defenders that are able to move the ball forward through the lines from the back. We can continue looking at ball progressing by looking at progressive carries, and yet again Maguire was the best last season by a fair margin, with Lindelof once again struggling at the bottom, whilst Varane was the average in the middle. What both of these stats have shown is that in this area it really isn't particularly close. Harry Maguire is by far Manchester United's best ball progressor, and with Ten Hag being the manager, I think this weighs heavier than what some of the other attributes do. Finally, the last thing that I want to talk about is each player's top speed from last season, and unsurprisingly Varane recorded the top speed with Maguire at the bottom, whilst yet again Lindelof found himself middling out between the two of them. To be honest, I didn't really need to do that stat because I think everyone knew that Varane was going to be the quickest, although to be fair, because of his injuries last year, he does seem to have lost a little bit of his natural speed and pace over a quick acceleration. Now this pace is something that will be important alongside Martinez next season, because Martinez will always look to play on the front foot, so at times there will be gaps that are left in behind the defence, so United need that covering centre back. Overall, I think that Varane has come out on top of this comparison with a bit of a landslide victory, as out of 8 of the different stats he actually ranked top in 5 of them, so I think the stats suggest that Varane is the best partner. From a stylistic point of view, I think this makes sense as well. Varane isn't a particularly aggressive or front foot defender, so it almost naturally makes sense for him to play as the covering centre back who sweeps up behind the defensive line. Now to be fair, Maguire has come out of this comparison looking pretty decent as well, as he came out on top of all of the other 3 stats, so whilst he didn't have as good a season as Varane last year, the stats still suggest that he played alright. Now personally, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Maguire chosen as Martinez's partner, purely for what he has to offer on the ball, and if Maguire was to play alongside Martinez, then it would create a pair with great ball playing ability. Now, unfortunately for Maguire, he does have one natural disadvantage, and that is his lack of pace. And whilst he is great on the ball, this lack of pace could be a huge risk in a team that's playing such a high line, so it would be a concern. The other player we've looked at is Lindelof, and of course, if you've done the maths and been paying attention, Lindelof didn't actually come out on top for a single one of these attributes last season. However, that is not to say that he is a bad defender by any means. The problem for Lindelof is that I don't think he is a great defender either. He's sort of in this position where he isn't really bad at anything, but he doesn't particularly excel in any area either, so I think he is unlikely to be starting. Personally, I think that if it was my choice, I would be choosing Varane as my defender to start alongside Lisandro Martinez, and from what we've seen in this video, the stats from last season seem to back up that as well, from a defensive point of view especially. This pairing would also bring impressive quality on the ball. Varane didn't rank too greatly for the progressive play, but his overall pass to accuracy was still very impressive and the best, so this would be a very secure pairing on the ball. In fact, it could actually be quite a nice little pairing. We could see Raphael Varane looking to take the slightly safer option in possession, whilst Martinez would be given the freedom to play in a far more progressive manner to try and move the ball through the lines. The duo would also complement each other from a defensive point of view, with Martinez actively looking to play on the front foot, whilst Varane naturally tends to sit off slightly, making him ideal to be the covering centre back. Even with Martinez playing as the stopper that looks to play on the front foot, Martinez still has more than enough pace to recover as well, and naturally this would be a centre back duo that would have bags of recovery pace at the back. Now, whilst it has all been positive so far for this duo, my one concern would be their aerial ability. Martinez is well below 6 foot, and despite ranking well, Varane isn't the most dominant player in the air, so it would be a concern. Despite that, I think Ten Hag will have a plan. He has clearly been very intent on bringing Martinez into the club, and he's not the sort of manager that would bring a player in without a plan, so there's clearly some sort of idea in place already. Ultimately, I think the plan will involve Martinez at centre back. He is obviously capable of playing in the midfield as well, but with some of the comments that Ten Hag has made in the last 24 hours, I think it is now clear that Martinez will be in defence. The question now is who will play alongside him, and I think it's a bit of a battle between Varane and Maguire. Personally, I've got a feeling that Ten Hag is going to side with Maguire, which I'm okay with, although personally I would go with Varane for the reasons we've discussed today. But make sure to let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.